Sixers fans, welcome back. Looking 2-1 right now on the week. This is going to be a first week takeaways of the 2021 regular season for the Philadelphia 76ers. Hit the intro, like the video. All right, Sixers fans, so there's a few things I want to talk about. First of all, I appreciate everybody who's coming out to the live streams. We're having a ton of fun. Thank you, guys. You already know the deal. If you predict the score before the jump, you win your very own Sixers Process jersey. What better way to just feel better about yourself than wearing a Tony Roten, RIP too soon, Sixers Process jersey, right? There are a couple of things that I'm taking away from this first week, and I know a lot of you guys are indifferent on how to feel. A lot of you are really, really excited about how the team looks right now and how deep the team looks and the contributions we're getting from guys like Furkan and the new additions like George Niang and how Tyrese is looking pretty good. But some of you are also pretty upset about, not having a shot creator, losing that game to Brooklyn. There's a lot to feel. And I am here today to tell you how I feel so you can feel the same way in the comment section. I'm just going to talk about and kind of rant about some of the things that I'm noticing immediately. And the first thing I notice, of course, is got to be Joel Embiid. I am 50-50 on the way that Embiid has played the first 3 games. 50 being glass half full, saying, this man's playmaking is the greatest it has ever been. This is elite playmaking from a guy who's 7'1", 280 pounds. He had 6 assists last night. He didn't have a single turnover, and he handled the double team really well, and he has been getting double teamed extremely aggressive so far this year because, the lack of shot creating and shot making around him, and he's found the open guy, and that has led to the Sixers leading the NBA in three-point percentage in the first 3 games. I don't think I would ever have said or ever have guessed the Sixers team leading the NBA in three-point percentage. But glass half empty kind of is he doesn't look 100% healthy. He's already battling some injuries. He's holding this, he's holding that. Looks like he just has a nagging bug going on in his body. And physically that can't be great. Hopefully he's conditioning and hopefully it's been unlucky so far to start the season, but it doesn't really look like a season he's going to be playing 100% of the games or 100% of the games that we put him out there for. Obviously, he's going to be missing games for load management, missing games for this, missing games for that, but it's scary because I need Embiid to be healthy, and he just doesn't look extremely dominant in the post, and it doesn't look like he's taken a lot of opportunities that he took last year, and he's not bullying guys like he did last year. His shot looks good this year, but his mid-range has kind of been missing a little bit more than it did last year. His three-point shot looks good this year, though, so hopefully this is just a short sample size, a small sample size of Embiid, and he's going to get back to his dominating nature. But at the same time, guys, he is putting up like 4, 5, 6 assists a night, which is, it's ridiculous. It's genuinely ridiculous. He is the focal point of the offense. He's getting double teamed, triple teamed almost every single touch, and he's handled it pretty well, passing it to guys. And which leads me to the point of Seth Curry has been absolutely lethal this year. The dude, he went 6 of 6 from 3 in the first quarter last night. Finished with 28 points. He had 23 in the first quarter. It's like he didn't even care in the next 2-3 quarters until the fourth quarter. He had that basically, game-sealing dagger 3 from the corner and then shushed the Oklahoma City bench. How dope is that? I am here for the Seth Curry resurgence here. I'm here for the fact that this year is the first time ever he is starting with the same team for 2 years in a row. He has been the most underappreciated shooter in the NBA that I can reasonably name, and he is, thank God, on the Sixers team because he's been fantastic. He is our knight in shining armor right now. He won a game last night for us against a team that we should have been up by 20, 30 points against. Seth Curry has been phenomenal. Furkan Korkmaz on the same wave has been, dude's been great. I can't stand Furk. You guys know that I am a big anti-Furk guy, but he has really shined in his new backup role and kind of that backup point guard role he's done pretty well. Don't get me wrong, Lou Dort absolutely turned him into a baby last night and stole the ball from him 2 possessions in a row, which leads me to the fact that the Sixers are in desperate need of some backcourt depth because as much as I love Tyrese Maxey is still not a starter on a contending team. Tyrese Maxey's looked good this year. I think he had 20 points, 18 points, and then like 15, 14 last night. Don't get me wrong, he's been good. but I don't think I can completely trust him on both sides of the ball in playoff series. I just don't think so. And I don't think his shot's consistent enough to be a starting point guard on a championship team, and I genuinely believe we need help at the point guard position, starting and backup. We don't have a backup point guard. And as much as I've been impressed with Furkan Korkmaz's game off the bench for the Sixers this year, cool, that's all good and grand until the fact that we don't have a we don't have a guy who can facilitate or play make or dribble like at all for our bench, and that really, really hurts. And I love Shake Milton, and I know Shake Milton's out, and when Shake Milton comes back in, maybe that changes the game, but he still isn't really a primary facilitator. He's not a playmaker. And I know that's why they went out and got George Hill last year, and you're going to see the same thing this year, and hopefully it's going to come in a Ben Simmons trade so we can just move Maxey into that backup point guard hole. But the Sixers don't have a guy to run the second unit, and it's really difficult. I'm starting to think maybe Maxey just coming off the bench in general would be better, but we don't have a point guard in the starting five either, so that doesn't really fix the problem. Talking about the starting five, look, Danny Green had a better game last night, and I know defensively he's doing a lot of the gritty work that you don't see on box scores, and he's doing a lot of the matchups that is very exhausting on the defensive end. But I think this year is probably the last year you could possibly start this guy, and I don't think he is a starter on an NBA championship team. So that puts you in a weird position. I think more now than ever, a Ben Simmons trade is absolutely necessary because we need a backup guard or a backup three that we can put in for Danny Green's position, because Danny Green is just not going to push the needle. He's a good defensive player, but he's not good enough to hide the offensive deficiencies that he has going on right now. I know the leadership that he brings. I'm not saying move Danny Green, but I'm saying he's more of a bench guy at this moment of his career, and I think it says a lot about where the Sixers are. I like Matisse Thybulle. Matisse Thybulle is, again, going to put up a historical defensive season, but like he is genuinely so bad on offense that you can't even play him. Like, it's really crazy. Like, if you think and you look at Matisse Thybulle, you look at him and you're like, this man is so bad offensively that he has no reason to play on any team in the NBA. And then you watch him play defense, and you're like, this guy seriously might be the best defender in the NBA. Like, he really, really just might be the best defensive player in the whole league. And it's so 180 degrees opposite between both sides of the basketball for him. Like, it is amazing. It's amazing how good he is defensively to warrant playing time for a guy that bad offensively. He had a really nice step back three last night from the corner. Hopefully that's something he can continue. I kind of just want to see him shoot the ball more, or drive the lane, or cut, because he doesn't really do anything offensively, and he has the ball and he'll pass it back to whoever pass it to him. He doesn't really dash to the rim. He doesn't really do much, and he's a crazy athlete. I really do think if Doc Rivers could get his head out of his ass, he could run some cool plays for Matisse to just make him more useful on offense. Maybe do some baseline cuts. Just tell him to run baseline like we're playing 8th grade CYO. It's really not some rocket science stuff here, Doc. I think there needs to be better schemes to involve Matisse and his athleticism on the offensive end instead of just the occasional last second of the shot clock three or fast break dunk. We need more out of Matisse if we're going to play him 20 minutes a night. That's where I think it is. Look, I like I've said, Tyrese Maxey has played really well, but he hasn't shown me enough flashes or signs of starting NBA playoff point guard for me to be confident enough to roll him out in the starting lineup when the playoffs come. So I just think it's very, very important for Daryl Morey to be very smart with this Ben Simmons ordeal. If we can trade Simmons for backcourt depth, it is huge. Get a starting point guard and get a starting small forward, or get a starting, bigger two guard that we could move Curry to the 3 or Danny Green to the bench, or find a way to get Danny Green out of the starting lineup, because that right now is our weak link, but he could still be a very strong second unit player. I am very impressed by the Sixers bench right now. Andre Drummond was out last night, of course, but Drummond has looked pretty good. He's a great rebounder. He's a hustle dude, and he's played pretty great defense, which has kind of shocked me because he's not really known for his defense at all. Like, the guy's not a good defender, but he's played really good defense so far for the Sixers, and we love to see that. He's been rebounding the ball well. He's a really good playmaker, dude. he's a great distributor from the high post, which is really surprising. I mean, I've seen Andre Drummond play basketball, and I've never seen that from him. Maybe that's just me not watching enough live action of the dude, but I don't remember Andre Drummond being able to pass the way he is now this year. So good for him for really evolving as an NBA player without really having to shoot. The backup outside of that, though, I mean, look, I love Isaiah Joe, but he hasn't done anything this year yet. He's not really getting consistent time, but you can't really warrant him getting consistent time because he hasn't done anything with the time he's got. Maxey running the second unit is extremely successful for the Sixers. I think it's one of the more successful rotations the Sixers have because Maxey is just he's really, really good as a backup, like really, really good. He burns everyone in that second unit. Matisse Thybulle has played obviously fantastic defense. I mean, he got cooked by Shea a couple of times last night, but Shea's a really good isolation scorer. Shea, if anybody, is probably one of the worst mismatches for Matisse because of how long he is and how shifty he is. And Matisse is a very quick reflex type of defender. He overreacts to almost everything. He's like a cat with a waving a string in front of his face. Matisse is just going to jump. And Shea's that type of dude who can wave that string in front of Matisse's face and get him to jump and then burn by him. That's exactly what he did last night. But Matisse is probably the best help defender in the entire NBA. And the Sixers defense still looks really, really good. Like, that's the thing that maybe surprises me the most is how good the Sixers unit looks cohesively as a defensive unit. And missing Simmons, I thought this team was going to really, really hurt, especially in the starting five defensively, but it doesn't really look like it. They only gave up like 114 points, I think, was it, to Brooklyn. And I mean, Harden didn't really dominate. I mean, he had like 20, but it wasn't until late he started playing well. The Sixers defense just looks really good. I think that's the moral of my story here. The Sixers D looks good. It looks really together. Embiid is a really dominant force down low. And Seth Curry, surprisingly, it hasn't been a glaring weakness defensively. Danny Green has been pretty good. Tyrese Maxey hasn't been a glaring weakness, at least from what I can tell. They don't look like they're really getting killed out there. But I think the biggest takeaway out of this entire first week is the Sixers' need for a shot creator. It all comes down to what we're going to get for Ben Simmons. We need backcourt depth, and we need somebody who can create a shot. I mean, there's no excuse if we scored 1 point in the last 5.5 minutes of a game when we're up by, 10 off of a Matisse Thybulle fast break alley-oop timeout called by Steve Nash, and ever since then we don't score a single point. That's bad. I mean, that's really bad. Those are the moments we have Jimmy Butler and we're like, yo, Jimmy, go get a shot. And we just haven't been able to have that in, a couple years now. And Tobias just didn't bring it. Tobias usually is better than he was against Brooklyn, but we need somebody who can go out and get a bucket when the team is exhausted. And Embiid just doesn't seem to be that guy. And that's really, really hard to swallow because the guy's getting paid $200+ million probably, but it's hard to ask of a big man because a double team's coming. We need somebody who can create a shot from the outside. We need a guy like Bradley Beal, Damian Lillard, Zach LaVine, to name a few. Whether or not we can get a Bradley Beal, Damian Lillard, or Zach LaVine, probably not. But I genuinely believe that Bradley Beal will become a Philadelphia 76er by the end of the year. That has been my bold prediction for a couple of months now. So I'm holding true to that, even as dumb as it may seem to most of, NBA casual fans, but that's what I got. I think the Sixers are going to be a good team, not a great team. I like, but I don't love the way the first week has been. But I'm glad to see the bench play better. I'm glad to see George Niang, my guy, out here just balling because that's what he's been doing. George Niang is balling. Peace.